thank you so much for joining me again for another video. As always, I'm very, very grateful for your previous views, likes and subscriptions. What we're going to do today is spend some time exploring Sikhism and the Khalsa and the 5Ks. The Khalsa literally means soldier saints and was started by the last guru in Sikhism, Guru Gobind Singh. And it's open to all Sikhs, men and women, who want to show a very visible commitment to their faith. And this idea of symbols is very important. We've mentioned it in other videos, but it's very important too in Sikhism. And what I want you to do is just think a little bit about Superman, which is like a strange thing to be thinking about. But what we've got here on the left is a still of Superman from the 1940s Max Fleischer cartoons. And as you can see, the distinctive S, and the reason why I picked Superman is that most people know the symbol of Superman, is actually got a yellow outline, a black background and a red S in a slightly different style of what we're used to. And of course, on the right, what we've got is an image of the more traditional Superman logo, which is that red sort of lining, the very yellowy goldy background, and of course that distinctive S. We know it's Superman, but it's changed and it's evolved over the years, but we know intrinsically it is about Superman. And the wonderful thing about symbols is that they can carry on a tradition, they can carry on an idea. They don't even need to be explained. We just know that that S is related to Superman. And one of the things that perhaps we should be thinking about is, why is wearing symbols of faith so significant? Well, I think there's a couple of things, okay, that I can think of. But by the way, you'll have your own ideas as well. That's what I want you to do, to think about and to ponder about these things. Well, first of all, this idea of community is very important. It can bind a community. It can help to give its own sense of identity as well, not just for a group, but also an individual. And also it connects with tradition. Many religions have garments or jewelry that are associated, that can go back centuries, and it gives that idea of continuity. So I think that's just something to be aware of. Now, we're going to have a look at what some of these symbols are in Sikhism. Please be aware that, as always, I might not have time to go into great detail about all of them. Okay, but first of all, they're called the 5Ks, okay, when you join the Khalsa, because in the original Punjabi language, they all begin with K, and that's where the nickname came from. And the first one is Kesh, which is the uncut hair. It represents living in harmony with nature. It's this idea as well that you are not spending all your time trying to make yourself look wonderful for God. You are able to focus on the important things. You'll notice as well that the gentleman here is wearing a turban, and a turban is often worn to keep the kesh in place. So just, and which is also an important symbol in Sikhism, and maybe we'll do that in more detail on another time. But the idea is that by not spending time changing your hairstyle, it gives you a chance to focus more on the important things in life. But there we are. That, first of all, is the cash. So that's the first of the 5Ks. The next one is the kanga. And it's a comb. And the idea is that it's placed in the hair to keep it secure. It's also used to keep it clean and tidy. And combing hair is a reminder to represent cleaning one's own heart, and perhaps also suggests about being tidy and organized in your life. So there's a personal reflection that's going on here. And what I find really interesting is how it's what we might call, without being disrespectful, a normal everyday object, a comb, yet it has a great deal of religious significance for the Sikh community. It's not worshipped, that's very, very important, but it's the symbolism behind it of being ordered and tidy and organized when doing your duties for God. Another of the 5Ks is the CurPam, and originally this would have been a full-length proper sword, but now it's roughly about 10 centimeters long, or indeed you can actually get little badges that are worn which can be put on the lapel of your jacket or wherever it might be. The CurPam plays a very significant role because it symbolises, okay, this idea of compassion, which is to choose between right and wrong, but also it can also be about social justice too. And I think the second thing you're supposed to think about is how it's symbolic of protecting the weak. And who might they be in today's society? Who might be those kind of individuals that need looking after and protecting? So certainly Sikhs, when Sikhism started, it received a great deal of persecution within the community, and the swords would have been used, the CurPam, for self-defense. But it is symbolic now of looking after the vulnerable. And so you might want to think about who are those in society that perhaps need to be looked after the most. And as I said, you don't necessarily have to wear the actual CurPam itself, the blade. It may not be appropriate in certain situations, but it's wearing the little badge will be absolutely fine. So just have a little think about that as well. How might that be reflected in today's society, this idea of protecting the weak? Another of the 5 Ks is the kara. Now, originally, this would have been like the sword, a lot bigger. Perhaps would have been a bangle covering the whole of your wrist to help deflect sword blows. But what it symbolises now is the strength of God. It's often made of steel, and it also has no beginning and no end, a kara, like God. And it can come in many different styles, can be very ornate, can be very simple and very, very plain. But I think what's interesting is how it started off as something practical, something as self-defense in combat, but now it has a meaning which is deeply spiritual. And another of the 5 Ks is the kachira. Okay, apologies for my pronunciation. These are short trousers, tend to be about knee length in height. They represent self-control, but also it allows movement. And when Sikhs were defending themselves from physical persecution, it allowed you to move around quickly in battle, particularly on horseback. So it's this idea of new ideas as well, a new beginning and a new start, as well as being practical. And I think what's interesting, something you might want to think about, is how contrast with other faiths regarding the wearing of religious symbols. So in some religions, wearing symbols are very important. In other faiths, perhaps not so. And perhaps when you're poking around on the internet, having a look at different religions and the different articles of faith that they may or may not wear, and just play around with thinking about why that might be and the importance of that. Anyway, I do hope there's been something for you today. As always, amongst yourselves, feel free to comment, and if you wish, like and subscribe, but most importantly, enjoy your learning.